and that's Andrew Arthur. He is resident fellow in law and policy for the Center of Immigration Studies. He joins us here on the Larry Elder Show. Art, thank you so much for joining us.
Jeff, thanks so much for having me today.
You bet. I want to first, before we get to the DOJ investigations related to the sanctuary city policy, I want to get a real quick update, if you will. A lot of people are understandably very concerned about sleeper cells that may be in this country that came here illegally under Biden as a result of America bombing those Iranian nuclear sites. How concerned should we be that there might be an Iranian sleeper cell in America?
We should be very concerned. Shortly after the success of Operation Midnight Hammer, our attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, CBP Commissioner Rodney Scott, a man who was former Border Patrol chief, knows a lot about the national security, put out a notification to local law enforcement. They need to be concerned about the possibility that Iranian operatives who have been, lying in wait in the United States, we're going to use the attack as an opportunity to carry out terrorist events on U.S. soil to harm Americans and our institutions. And I think that that's a very salient concern in light of what the Biden administration did. The number of migrants who entered the United States illegally from Iran increased 20-fold in the 4 years of the Biden administration, 1,750, according to DHS Office of Homeland Security Statistics numbers, came into the United States during that period. It's important to note, Jeff, that they have universal conscription, universal manhood conscription in Iran. So every male in Iran of military age is subject to being drafted into the military. And for that reason, it's very difficult for males to leave Iran. And yet we saw a huge number of them show up at our southwest border, which would indicate either that they're amazingly crafty at getting out of the Islamic Republic, or perhaps they had a little help from the Islamic Republic itself coming here. And, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, the power behind the throne, if not the power in Iran, they're evil people, but they're amazingly crafty people. And they do have the ability to strike at weak points, not only in the United States, but around the world. So, some combination of Chief Scott's concern and the ability of Iranian operatives to act in this country, particularly, with large gatherings, things like that, with our Independence Day holiday coming up, in the freedom of our society. That's a real concern. I think the American people should be concerned about it.
Well, Art, I really think that I have a kind of a two-part question to you. One is, if they're here, how do we catch up with them? How do we bring them to justice? And how do we find out? And more than likely, they're probably in a sanctuary city. And how much does that curtail an investigation by the feds to round up what might be an Iranian sleeper cell that wants to do harm to this country? How much is that going to get in the way? And I would assume that you would agree that they probably would end up in sanctuary cities?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you look at Los Angeles, there's a large Iranian population there, and that Iranian population, by and large, almost absolutely is very patriotic, very pro-American. They lived under the Islamic Republic, many of those people, and they're grateful for the freedoms they have here. But the ability of operative agents to insinuate themselves into that community is significant. Again, the IRGC knows what to say and knows what to do to pass themselves off. So, when you're talking about Los Angeles, where Karen Bass is, in a rhetorical war with Tom Home and the border czar, and where Gavin Newsom, the governor, has never seen any immigration enforcement that he likes, it's a particular problem. One of the things that we learned, I was on Capitol Hill, it was the Oversight Council for Immigration on September 11th, and, helped to craft much of the legislation, many of the policies that helped to secure the United States in the wake of those attacks, is that communication between state, local, and federal officials is absolutely key to keeping the American people safe in our communities, particularly when notices are sent out, when they receive information from, local cops about things that they see that look and I'm going to use a law enforcement term here, Jeff. I apologize.
That's okay.
Hinky. Yeah, anything that looks hinky.
Yeah, I know what that is.
That is the operative intelligence that we rely upon. But right now, we see our elected officials in Los Angeles and in California and, major cities like New York, being impeded. We see them standing in the way of those street cops who, see something, say something, from actually saying something to the one agency of the United States government that can do something, and that is ICE.
Yeah, I don't know how we unwind this. And just to get a little bit of breaking news here, Art, I think it's something that you probably might already know, but our audience may not. I think it's really interesting as we talk about this topic of trying to keep America safe, and when it comes to getting to those illegals that are here that have violent backgrounds or might do something violent, whether it's an Iranian sleeper cell or whatever the case may be. Border Czar Tom Homan just revealed that he is now living away from his wife because of death threats that he has been receiving. So he's concerned about his family. I can imagine what all of the men and women of ICE and CBP are going through, and certainly at this time.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.